Erev Tov Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Just to kind of cap of things that are going on today as we get ready to close out this day here. Kind of got caught up after doing the teaching we did there on Ben-Nun Institute. Also, we had loaded that on Patreon as actually a test run. I was meant to actually record a different video for Patreon today, but I wanted to see if we could load the video from a different site versus using YouTube. And so I think we were successful on that. But anyway, going real quick in what's going on in the world today, Iran summons envoys of UK, Netherlands, and Denmark after military parade attack in Iranian. And this was a very bloody attack that took place there, and Iran was quick to point out that the U.S. was behind it as far as being the handlers of the terrorist attack that took place on a military parade that left, I think, gosh, was it 20 people were killed in this, and I think that death toll has risen to 26, the last I had heard before coming on this evening. And very much a tragedy, because here they are doing their military parade in Iran, and then suddenly 4 gunmen open fire, and they, according to the Iranian official report on this, they were also targeting women and children in this part of the elite that were there at this parade. So a very tragic situation. And of course, the one thing that makes me think of, I go always back to General Wesley Clark and how he said the U.S. was going to take out these 7 nations in 5 years. Of course, the time frame is way off, but those 7 nations, well, they just haven't stopped working on all of them. And of course, Syria has been the quagmire. But Iran was supposed to be the last one on the target list, and they're definitely not going to let that go by either. As General Wesley Clark said, we have a good military. If you have a hammer and the only thing you have is a hammer in your toolbox, every problem must look like a nail. So I guess they're planning on nailing Iran to the cross. Anyway, not to say that the Iranians believe in Yeshua by no means. I realize that, but just interesting situation that's going on there. Syrian government is accusing the U.S. coalition of evacuating ISIS from Deir ez-Zor. That's something that just took place the other day. And of course, wow, very interesting to say the least there. It says the Syrian government has accused the U.S. coalition of evacuating Islamic State terrorists from Deir ez-Zor governorate recently, according to the state-owned Syrian Arab news agency. Damascus accused the U.S. coalition of evacuating several Islamic State terrorists via a recent air landing operation at the outskirts of al-Masharida in Deir ez-Zor governorate. That's not the first time that we've seen reports like this coming out of the Middle East. The U.S. Moving ISIS militants and their family members around in unmarked aircraft. But yet, once again, that claim is there. Mike Pompeo for the United States is saying that it promises a series of actions against Venezuela in the coming days. Well, it just goes to show our government is still in the process of overthrowing other governments. Forget the fact that they're democratically elected by their own people. We just see, feel the need to overthrow a government. The U.S. is always right there to do just exactly that. And kind of closing out on this here, Murad Gaziev with RT weighs in on this issue over the downing of the Russian plane. And as he speaks about here, the downing of the Russian plane reveals resentment over Syria and a lot of blame going around. Let's kind of tune in and listen to this here, what he actually says here on RT.
Bad, really bad situation. There's the tragedy, 15 people dead to friendly fire. Then there's the fallout. Everyone's blaming everyone.
British jets deliberately created a dangerous situation for the warships and aircraft located in that area.
While it may have been a Syrian missile that downed the plane, it was Israel that set the stage, says Russia. Israel bombed Syria again, the Syrians defend themselves, and the Russian jet gets caught in the crossfire. The Israeli military, though, blames Iran and Hezbollah.
Israel holds the Assad regime, whose military shot down the Russian plane, fully responsible for this incident.
It was their fault. Israel had to bomb Syria, you see. Iran was transferring lethal technology to Hezbollah via the Syrian military, apparently. So Israel had to stop them. The Syrians panicked and started launching anti-air missiles everywhere. Israel is blameless, says Israel. As for the United States...
Can you comment at all on the shoot down of the Russian jet yesterday and whether or not the U.S. had any visibility in it over a deconfliction line or any other means?
As far as I'm tracking terror, we did not. The coalition was not involved with this.
Did you have any visibility into it as it was happening through either your own radar or through the deconfliction line?
We did not, that I'm tracking.
I didn't see what happened. Usually when one doesn't see what happened, one doesn't blame anyone. Unless one can get in a cheap shot against Iran.
I would like to express sorrow to our council partners, Russia, for the tragic loss of life when the Russian plane was downed yesterday. If Russia is interested in bringing peace to Syria, it should make sure Iran and its militias leave Syria once and for all. The risk of a broader conflict will leave with them.
No, it doesn't leave with them. Unfortunately, according to even sources that I have on the ground inside of Israel, Iran, of course, is a problem for Israel. But Israel is not going to allow Russia to build a pipeline through its country there and not be routed to the Haifa port there inside of Israel. Israel and the United States will do whatever it takes in order to overthrow the Syrian government so that they can ensure this pipeline comes in their hands and they can gain the benefit from the oil that is coming out of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. So it is a major issue what's going on, and really, quite frankly, if you wanted to bring peace to Syria, to the Middle East, all you have to do is get Western leaders out of the country. Get all those that have been backing these terrorists inside of the nation, which does unfortunately include my own people, Israel. Get them out of, supplying and supporting terrorists, including the Saudis, Israel, the United States, UK, Germany, France, and Great Britain. And then we could really bring some peace there to the Middle East. And of course, get Turkey out of there as well. They're nothing but a bunch of thugs. And we know this because their own government uncovered the case of the sarin gas that was used against the children there in the country. And yes, I keep bringing it up because, the United States keeps bringing up that, it's a closed case. It was the Syrian government, Bashar al-Assad, that gassed his own people. What rotten nonsense. And to think that the American people still are buying this. Anyway, listen, we are getting it set up. Our web guy is getting set up the information to be able to register for the conference in Kansas. That is a little suburb of, I think it's Shawnee, Kansas is the name of it. I think I put it wrong on the website right now, but that is being put together, the conference we're going to be doing there. And I'm going to share a little bit more insight, something I did not share in either of the other two conferences there. But we're going to go deeper into my own past with the government, working with the CIA, and I'm going to be sharing with you in this conference here, going all the way back to the Kennedy assassination, and some of the information that I know on the inside of that. That's something that I have not spoke about before, and you'll be very surprised to learn that even the things that I'm sharing in my own 7 years experience with the assassin that I worked with, just how... Well, let me put it this way. It's very interesting to see how the status quo of drugs, money laundering, and weapons supplied to other nations that they need to overthrow just doesn't ever seem to change. And that happens to come all the way to the current administration. I have inside information on this as well. And whether or not I will speak about that or not, well, that remains to be seen. But we will go back and we will look at the Kennedy assassination, and I'll be sharing some very interesting insights about that and what really happened. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Erev Tov.